Drews, and I am honored to facilitate today's kickoff for our 75th year. I purposely wore this jersey for a very good reason. Because it's where I began. 75 years ago, my parents met in San Francisco. They were married later in 1950, and a couple of years later, I popped into the world. But it's where I began my life, where the experiences that I had, the events, the circumstances that created me just as I am, just as each of you came from somewhere, we all ended up in the same sanctuary, a safe place, a welcoming place, in a day, despite the dreariness, a very wonderful place to be. So that's why I want all of us to think about where we came from, what brought us here, and those very many special people who made you who you are. And I'd like you to do, just as Fred Rogers encouraged us all to do, is to thank those many people in your lives. I'll give you 10 seconds, and I'll watch the clock. Thank you. As you all know, we stream live on YouTube every Sunday and are always welcoming people by way of Zoom. You're always welcome to join us in any way you want to choose. And know that for more information, you want to learn more about our congregation, please visit our website, uucolumbia.org.
Give you some extra. Do you want to take that one?
Thank you. To learn more, you can also visit us on Facebook, check out us on Instagram, and we also provide our weekly email blasts. We warmly welcome all families, and during the service, we have childcare for those under the age of 4, and if you want to volunteer, childcare, always feel free to contact Bethany Sterlassi. We have a designated seating area in the back for parents, children 4 to 7, and always feel free to bring your toys or other gadgets in the social hall to quiet. Today, children will remain in service, and they will remain seated during the Story for All Ages. And now, if you would, please silence all devices as we center ourselves for today's service. The prelude would be led by J.P. Flood.
Thank you, Mark. You know, one of the things I tell people that, my wife and I are Montanans, and we winter here, and we're here usually about 5 or 6 months a year. But I said, we watch you every week. You know, we're Zoomers, And so you may not see us, but we see you. So anyway, after the election, results, we just kind of blew up out there, and I was like, the only thing I could say as a Unitarian is it's going to take us all to make a change. Well, we need Buddhists and Baptists, Quakers and Catholics too. We need atheists, agnostics, Muslims and Jews. We need people from all nations, all colors and all creeds. Put an end to war now. Put an end to greed. Put an end to hate. And let love win. Gonna take us all to make a change. Gonna take us all marching in the streets. Gonna take us all to win back the peace. It's gonna take love, love, love. It's gonna take love beyond belief. It's gonna take love beyond belief. Oh, we need immigrants and unions, greenies and gays. hip hoppers, beboppers, women for equal pay. We got farm workers in the sun, we got homeless in the rain. We got battles in Ukraine for the world's insane. It's gonna take us all to make a change. Gonna take us all marching in the streets. Gonna take us all to win back the peace. It's gonna take love, love, love. It's gonna take love beyond belief. Yes, it'll take some love way beyond belief. We need your friends and your neighbors, poets and painters, socialists, anarchists, pacifists and humanists too. We need every culture and community, black, white, and brown. But at times we don't see eye to eye. Yeah, but at times we don't see eye to eye. But we must stand on common ground. Oh yeah, we must stand on common ground. It's gonna take us all to make a change. Gonna take us all marching in the streets. Take us all to win back the peace. It's gonna take love, love, love. It's gonna take love, love, love. It's gonna take love. Thank you.
Thank you, JP. And since you didn't provide him a standing ovation, would you now please rise for the Congregational Covenant? Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest for truth, sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to serve others in community. Thus do we covenant with one another. Please be seated. And again, welcome. Unitarian Universalism is a diverse and non-creedal religion. Our community is founded on deeds, not creeds. We are a covenantal religion, which means we don't need to believe the same in order to treat each other the same, with respect, compassion, dignity, and equity. We place love at the center of all of our values, and we embrace and welcome all people. This time, we're delighted to welcome any guests or visitors that are with us today.
Thank you, Mark. My name is Barry Arendt. I was a member here for 6 of the 75 years, from 2007 to 2013, and it's great to see so many familiar faces.
Thank you, Barry. As you know, our board members and our committee chairs welcome your questions and comments. Board members wear green name tags, and we all want to say thank you for being here today. This time, I'd like to light the chalice, and we've asked somebody very special to light the chalice for us. This week will mark the 6th anniversary of when Stephen signed on saying he would be our minister. So for that, we asked him to go ahead and light the candle, and we've also gifted him a 1-year supply of the jelly of the month. Thank you. We all felt it was truly the gift that keeps on giving. We light this chalice, a symbol of the Unitarian Universalism. Its base represents our history and living tradition. The bowl includes all truth seekers and justice makers, and the flame provides the transformative power of love. Spirit and light and life come unto us all. Our opening words will be shared by somebody who's very special to many of all of us. 50 years ago, she served as the Secretary Board of Trustees, and since those times, she served on a multitude of leadership roles in the congregation. It was her spark at the board meeting in the spring of this past year that said, we really need to mark the 75th anniversary. And to hear more about the why, this is so important to all of us, I've asked her to provide the opening words. Regina Moody.
Good grief, Mark. Thank you. All right, is this good? Because okay, all right. I brought a few visual aids, can't help myself, but I can't find the one that I really need, which is the one of the handkerchiefs from my late husband, Bill. I kept them, but if I can't get to it, I'll just use something else. But anyway, thank you, Emilio. I did bring a couple of things because everybody has this, right? Okay, keep that in your mind. It's an order of service. This one is an order of service. It's a copy, only a copy. The original is in the archives under construction, so to speak. But this is an order of service, Unitarian Fellowship of Columbia, South Carolina, 315 South Maple Street. Go figure. We'll figure that out later. But that was the address given on this. This order of service was for December 28th, 1958. And it's amazingly like ours that we just got. The elements from inside the order of service are listed this way: meditation, invocation, hymn, responsive reading, prayer, offertory, sermon. The sermon topic was Hope Springs Eternal. Another hymn, the benediction, and, I kid you not, discussion. Right there, discussion. Some of the statements that appear here, which are very faded, but I'm sure made a lot of difference back then. You are cordially invited to fellowship coffee immediately following the service. And then the name of the guest speaker was from Spartanburg back that day. And they announced who was coming the next Sunday, the first Sunday in January of 1959. And then their announcements included welcoming the visitors, offering information regarding their church, the Unitarian Church, and an invitation to attend a one-day workshop at the Unitarian Fellowship in Augusta. And then a thank you for what they called a wonderfully successful Christmas party. And the Turners weren't even there then. But somebody did it. And then on the back is the names of the executive committee who was serving then. And that must have been what they call the board. I like it, kind of the executive committee. Anyway, it's interesting on that day that both songs that were sung were from the in that 1950 service. Those two songs were later included in the hymnal published after the merger of the Unitarians and the Universalists in 1964. Now, they didn't have this hymnal, obviously, in 1958, but the hymns made it into this book, which is called Hymns for the Celebration of Life. And you may wonder why I have a copy, but don't ask me. This copy is presented to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Columbia by Robert and Edith Fisher. I don't know who they were, but I did get this legitimately, and I've kept it because I cherish it. And it has been superseded, as we know, a couple of times by the hymnal that's essentially, some of these same hymns are in it, which is really cool. Although we don't know which responsive reading was used on that Sunday, there was one, and I would like to share one that's familiar to us. and it's still included in the gray hymnal, singing the living tradition. This is a reading by Kenneth L. Patton, and it will sound familiar to you because we have used it a lot over the years. Countless times, these words have been read or recited in unison. This is what it says. We arrive out of many singular rooms, walking over the branching streets. We come to be assured that our brothers and sisters surround us to restore their images upon our eyes. We enlarge our voices in common speaking and singing. We try again that solitude found in the midst of those who with us seek their hidden reckonings. Our eyes reclaim the remembered faces. Their voices stir the surrounding air. The warmth of their hands assures us, and the gladness of our spoken names. This is the reason of cities, of homes, of assemblies, in the houses of fellowship. It is good to be with one another. It is good to be with one another. Those words have not changed in all these years. What has changed and will change as long as this church continues is the collective we. When we say the words we, or it is good to be with one another, we most likely are thinking of the people sitting next to us, or friends, church friends that we know well, or maybe some we vaguely recognize. But this order of service reminds us that a group of Unitarians met on that last Sunday in 1958, most likely in a home somewhere in Shandon, and worshiped together. This coming year, we will learn about events, programs, initiatives, efforts, many successful, some not, and ways this congregation has been connected to Columbia. We will recall the generations of children who have passed through our classrooms and played on the swings. We will remember, I might need this. We will remember those hundreds who have planned and participated in potlucks, parties, parades, protests, and preached in the pulpit. All those members and friends of the Unitarian Fellowship of Columbia, South Carolina, the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Columbia, and the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Columbia, who in their time gave of themselves to this church, who cared about its well-being, who believed in its promise, just as we do here today. So look at these programs again. Each cover includes a drawing symbolizing light. This one, an itty-bitty oil lamp, I think. And this one, a flame and a chalice. On that December Sunday, almost 75 years ago, the congregation sang, "With joy we claim the growing light." It begins with these words, "With joy we claim the growing light," and ends with these words, "With knowledge deeper reverence be." Unitarian Fellowship of Columbia, South Carolina. Morning worship service, 10:30. Sunday school, 10:30. The words, "Come bring a friend." And on the bottom, "In religion, freedom is our method, reason is our guide, fellowship is our spirit, character is our test, and service is our aim."
Thank you, Regina. In a moment, Karen will be playing our opening hymn titled Spirit of Life, probably the most recognized UU song that we have, written by Carolyn McDade, who also wrote the music to Come Build a Land, and Come Build a Land, and she's also had other songs that have been a part of our congregation, but she wrote Spirit of Life as an individual prayer. And you heard both JP and Regina use plural pronouns, us and we. Spirit of Life uses the pronouns me, and my. So what I'd like us to do is let us sing it today with the words ours and us. The words will be on display. Thank you. Please be seated. Sit back and enjoy a story for all ages. And please be reminded that all characters and events in this story are fictitious. Any resemblance to real members or friends, living or dead, is purely coincidental. The UUCC assumes no responsibility or liability for any errors or omissions in the content of the story and accepts no guarantee of completeness, accuracy, usefulness, and timelines. It was a few nights after Christmas, and the entire congregation At this time, would you all join me in singing this little light of ours? We're going to let him shine. This little light of ours, we're going to let him shine. This little light of ours, we're going to let him shine. This little light of ours, we're going to let him shine. Let him shine, let him shine, let him shine. Thank you. And again, as you use, we do find humor in our own actions. And this will not be on YouTube. We've come to a point of our service where we have an opportunity to share a joy, a sorrow, or a concern. If you have a joy or concern that you'd like to share from the minister or who's at the pulpit, please email Reverend Robinson by noon on Friday. You can also pick up a candle in the foyer before the service, or you can share it so you can share it in person. We also want to remind everyone that we do have a wonderful caring committee. They all wear yellow name tags, and they're available for all of us who have a special need. If you have a candle at this time, please come on down and please share it. Before we do, though, I do have one person that I'd like to ask to come down to light the first chalice. And it's also to express great appreciation to Liz Turner. Liz, for the past 10 plus years, she has served as our webmaster. And this candle is being lit in gracious appreciation for your many years of support to our congregation. And so we can all recognize you. Would you please light the first candle? Thank you. In the words of the friend of Bob Barker, come on down.
So this is kind of like a two-part candle. Went and visited my mom for the Christmas holiday in St. Petersburg, Florida. Fortunately enough, she moved off the beach before the storms hit. And the sweet woman she is, she was spreading holiday cheer to all her friends that lost everything in the storms, that didn't feel like celebrating Christmas because they're busy rebuilding. And this is a candle of concern for the victims of the storms. There's people, I heard stories of people that they literally had to sit on their roof and just watch the water come and just destroy everything they had.
Hi, I'm Bill Martin. I'm lighting this candle from my uncle, Jim Stoner, who passed away on Christmas Day. If you could keep his wife and children in your thoughts and prayers, I'd appreciate it. They're having a rough holiday. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. This is just a brief updated candle, a candle of joy. As you may recall, for those of you who were here last week, I did mention my uncle who it looked like he was not able to come home for Christmas due to his complications with his breathing stuff, but he was. And we were so glad that he was able to be home. So thank you all for your thoughts on that. And a brief also joy about the refrigerator. I know what a strange thing to say, but I just wanted to share this blessing that I was just looking at my refrigerator the other day and saw all of the wonderful greetings and cards and that community that you build with the people that you don't even realize, and you just look and it's right there on your refrigerator. So a candle of joy for that community. Thank you, guys.
Hey, I'm Andy Wells, and I didn't get a chance to get a candle. We ran out, but I'm counting the people, and someone's holding out around here. Oh, thank you. Good. I'll make it brief, though, since I wasn't able to get one. My brother Jack had his baby boy, whose name is Samuel Charles Wells, thankfully with my sister-in-law, and they'll be having his bris on Monday, I think, right? Yeah, Monday. So, thank you.
Good morning, Nancy and Emilio here. So we have a candle of joy for our son and his girlfriend, now fiancé. They are become engaged. So we're very happy about that. Nancy brought a picture. If somebody wants to see it, it's from their first date 7 years ago?
7 years.
7 years ago.
They're celebrating with her family this morning. We just got back from a week away, so they're having their holiday together.
December 29th, 1969 was a gray, cold day in Paris, France. But Yolanda and I started a lifelong journey then, back 55 years ago. Today. Yes. We've been a married couple by the grace of the Fifth Republic.
I've always wondered if it was legal.
I have a very strange, very odd candle lighting. 80% is part one of two, and 20% the candle is for me and for my organizational skills, and I just had to do it, even though I'm not fully prepared. But I want to light a candle today for the writer Andrei Codrescu. Some of you may know him. In part two, I hope to explain in detail what Andrei Codrescu means to me and how I feel like he has done tremendous progress, and how he relates to his connections to the Universalist Unitarian Church. I found him to be a formidable intellectual force who bridges many gaps, including the gaps of the ones who were not born here, who were born across the Atlantic, and the ones who don't know what it's like to be uprooted and come to a new environment and just the whole world in upheaval. And I just had to check online about him, and it said born such and such dash, and I'm glad that's what I saw. He's retired. He used to teach at LSU. Before that, he was the poet on call for NPR, if anyone's heard him. And he's done marvelous little vignettes on reporting in a very lyrical style. And he's got great books. And I would like to share a little more in part two, but this candle is for Andrei Codrescu.
This candle is going to be lit for all the members and friends over the past 75 years whose love and commitment to our values helped us make this a very special and impactful place. Their energies and memories remain with us, and we are all better people for having them part of our community. We'd also like to light the same candle, because we're about running out, for all those joys and concerns too close and to our heart to share at this time. This time, let us pause for a moment of reflection. Thank you. As all of you know, this congregation proudly participates in Share the Plate, an initiative where half of our monthly cash collection is donated to a local charity. This month's charity is Homeless No More, an organization that we heard a little bit about a few weeks ago and headed up by Lila Anna. If you'd like to go ahead and share a check, please include the words "Share the Plate" in the memo line. We also graciously accept any donations online and want to all thank you ahead of time for your gracious donations and support. Will the ushers please come forward for the day's offering? As we listen to performance of Someday at Christmas.
Just on the off chance that you're looking at the order of service and saying, that sounds familiar, but who the heck are Ron Miller and Brian Wells? I have to say I don't know exactly who they were except songwriters. But this song is most associated with the guy who actually sang it back in the day, a little guy by the name of Stevie Wonder. Needless to say, this is a different take on it than he did.
Someday at Christmas, men won't be boys, playing with bombs like kids play with toys. Some warm December, our hearts will see a world where we're all free. Someday at Christmas, there'll be no wars, when we have found what Christmas is for. When we have found what life's really worth, there'll be peace on earth. Someday all our dreams will come to be. Someday in a world where all of us are free. Maybe not in time for you and for me, but someday at Christmas time. Someday at Christmas we'll see a land with no hungry children and no empty hand. One happy morning people will share, a world where we all care. Yes, and someday at Christmas, there'll be no tears, all folk equal, and no one with fears. One shining moment, one prayer away from our world today. Someday at Christmas, we will not fail. Hate will be gone and love will prevail. Someday a new world that we can start with love in every heart.
Thank you, Kevin, Keith, and Andrew. And thank you. This represents the generosity and love of this congregation. At this time, we're going to be having two segments of what normally would be sermon time, but instead it'll be an opportunity to hear from some of our committee chairs as well as some of our members to share some of the plans that they have in 2 minutes or less, as well as some of the memories that mean the most to them in 3 minutes or less. As good you use, that's a relative term. We're going to begin by having members of the committees. In particular, let's have Jim Kimbler, Jean Cabalbo, Annette Flavel, and Linda Brinson share a little bit about what each of their committees will be doing to support our celebration of our 75th anniversary.
So this congregation has a really long and continuous supportive history of giving in both good times and in bad. Our pledge drive, our annual pledge drive coming up in March this year, will provide a look back 75 years and also a look forward. So thank you for all that you have done, that you do, and you will be doing in future pledge years. So in 1950, when Mark was born, gas was 20 cents a gallon. It's around $2.75 a gallon today, and 75 years from now, my prediction is that it will be over $12 a gallon. So buy your electric cars. What this means to the UUCC is their 2025 budget will generally need to grow in order to pay for the same things that we bought and paid for, including services and labor in 2024. A pledge of $1,000 last year will buy $976 worth of goods and services and people's labor next year. So how much would a pledge need to be 75 years from now in the year 2100 to provide the same purchasing power as $1,000? If we achieve that 2% inflation rate that you hear the feds talk about all the time, it would take $4,415 in a pledge to equal today's 1,000. So I want to take this opportunity to thank all of you for your pledges, for your giving, for your thoughts, for your wishes of giving, regardless of the amount every year. We are blessed with our community and all that you do. Thank you.
I'm up here representing the Art Wall and Display Cabinet in the Foyer Committee and the Archive Group. It was 50 years ago, a small group of people got together, like-minded people got together and wanted to start a Unitarian church. And they met in homes, and as the years went by, we started saving our records. So they go back we have some things that go back all the way to 1950 and up until today. So Regina Moody, who has been the guardian of all those records over the years, and Sharon Givens and I have been, with the guidance of Martha Dunlap, who's an archivist at the Richland Public Library, we have been organizing and digitizing orders of service, board minutes from as far back as we could find anything. Because we want to preserve the history, and we want the history to continue to be preserved. And those will be accessible to anyone who's interested in seeing the history of the UUCC. Now, as the art committee, Regina and I are responsible for the display cabinet in the foyer and the art wall. Some of you may have seen, we've already got the start of something. A timeline has started with a few pictures of buildings that have served the UUCC or the UU Fellowship. And we want to add to that through the year. It'll be up through this anniversary year. And if anyone has, well, we hope that committees will start adding to it. The other part of that is we've got a part of the wall left and the display cabinet. Now, what we want to do with that is give an opportunity for committees to display their histories and what they're doing now. So anybody who wants to reserve, any committee who wants to reserve that wall or display cabinet, just get in touch with me. Pick a month that's appropriate or good for a celebration of your committee. And let me know. And you don't have to have both. You can do the wall or the display cabinet. And also, if you want to, if any committee wants to access, which I imagine you would, access the archives to gather photos and documents to use on your displays, you can get in touch with me, and a member of your committee can come in and we'll help you find things. And of course, like Barry, where's Barry? Oh, you're right there. Yeah, Barry sent some photos of the dedication of the playground from 2012, I think. Yeah, so if any of you all have documents or photos that you'd like to share, or if you feel like they would be important to include in the archive, please let me know too. Okay, I think that's it. Thank you. I'm Jean Capalvo.
Well, welcome everyone. Today, we gather to honor an incredible milestone, 75 years of shared worship. This celebration is about more than history. It's about the diverse voices, stories, and traditions that have shaped our faith community. Together, we will reflect on the tapestry of contributions that make this congregation unique. Our vision for this celebration includes meaningful rituals that connect us to our past and inspire our future. We plan to incorporate a new members joining ceremony, welcoming fresh voices into our community, so important. Fire and flower communions, symbols of unity and individuality, unique music, created especially for this milestone, and a special ceremony to pass the torch to the next generation. This celebration would not be possible without the collaboration of all our committees. Each one has played an essential role in shaping a community that thrives on shared values and purpose. Your collective efforts are the foundation of a truly meaningful anniversary. As we celebrate, we express heartfelt gratitude to the worship committee and all members who have contributed to our spiritual journey. Finally, we invite all of you to join in shaping this momentous occasion. Bring your stories, your talents, and your reflections as we create a worship experience that reflects our shared journey. Let us recommit to being a beacon of love, justice, and hope for today, tomorrow, and generations to come. Thank you.
Annette had also planned to be here. Is she here? But she does have plans. The committee will be having its new member celebration on April 13th. And what we'll do is have a potluck gathering afterwards, but we're not only celebrating the new members, but using the time to celebrate our most seasoned and longtime members. This time, we go into part 2, where we're going to have an opportunity to hear from some of the members that reached out to several folks saying, would you be willing to share 2 up to 3 minutes? And they graciously agreed. One of them were the McLaughlins, who sent us a video from Sacramento, California. And we're going to go ahead and pull that up.
When we first joined the UUCC in 1973, it was a very different group from the way it is now. Most of our members were young adults, some divorced, many with young children. None of them had been, or most of them had not been UUs at all. The first minister we hired had not been trained as a UU minister. We met in a high school auditorium. We did own a house on Beltline Boulevard, but no church. And so later on, we hired some ministers, and we bought the church, and we became a real UU congregation.
And over the years, Morgan and I, over the 52 years, Morgan and I have held many different roles in the church. We've taught RE. I've been board president. We've both been on the board, and he's been on the worship committee and the building and grounds. I've been part of membership and caring, well, as Morgan. And now it seems like the group is pretty much, well, many, many younger people, but lots of people who are now our age still. And the group has become very important to us. Even though we're in California now, we very often watch the service.
Yes, we do, very often.
And are happy to say, oh, there's Regina, there's JP, et cetera, et cetera. We miss you all. Bye.
Thank you. And Morgan and Mary, we also miss you. Look forward to seeing you again soon. We're going to go ahead and ask some of our members to come up. Karita let us know that she was not able to be here today, and also got a text. Karita is here. Who would have expected her to sneak in the back door, coming in? So we'll have Karita. Shelley Bond was unable to be here, but let's have Karita, followed by Bethany, followed by Caroline, then Michael, who will be representing his dad, Ron Edge. And then it only made sense to also ask our newest members to come up and say a few words about why they chose to be a part of our community. And you'll recognize them as soon as they get up here. So Karita, we're looking forward to your 2 minutes. And your time starts now. Come on up. Should I take this and hold on?
I'm little, but I'm not that little. You didn't see me?
No, ma'am.
Well, I wish I were not here, really. We were asked to. Put it up right here. We were asked to. Do I have to speak in it?
This is good. Right.
We were asked to get some remembrances of good things that had happened as long as we've been around. And I came to UUism in 73. Well, actually earlier than that, but that was Atlanta, and that was a small group, and it didn't take because I left this city. So when I found out that there was one in Columbia where I was living at the time, I came here, and I never regretted it. The stuff that was good to me was, this was a church. You know, I'm from Finland. Everybody's Lutheran in Finland, but nobody goes to church. And I ended up going to church all the time. And we lived in a small city, Orangeburg, but we drove in every time with my first husband and myself. And the atmosphere was good, and serious, wonderful Christian principles and all kinds of good principles. happened, and we just fit in very well. The one thing that we didn't feel so much part of doing, because we didn't live in Colombia at the time, but we started doing stuff, and there was some I should have brought my notes, some happenings all over for Unitarian Universalists coming from Boston. And so one thing happened, and there was an effort to look at ourselves and find out who we really are. And at an annual meeting, some people got up and spoke about who we are and what we're doing, and it was in Charlotte, and we were going to have a party the next day, and it was the annual meeting of the UUA, and we were going to dress up as Thomas Jefferson time. So, you know, because this was the Thomas Jefferson district where we were in and celebrating. And so a few young black women came up and said they were really incensed because are we coming in sack clothing? So they didn't feel right about that. So from then on, our whole congregation and all the district, we changed our name from Thomas Jefferson District to Southeast District, as we are now in. And of course, Boston and everybody came down here, and we had big events talking about this, that this was racism that we didn't think existed among this wonderful group. And so we had some meetings and events going on from then on. I mean, we don't do it right now with that topic, but anti-racism, and I thought that that didn't exist in people like us. And so, I mean, racism didn't exist in people like us. So it's been very rewarding to find out that we're still alive and we keep doing these things personally, individually, and people do so much, and I wish we would put it out there in print a little bit more often. So I think we come a long way, but that idea that some of the best people that are up there leading our group let those things happen in the past, and I hope we're now all aware that in our quietness, we don't do that anymore at all. Thank you.
Thank you, Karita. Appreciate it so much. Bethany?
I like props too. Good morning. I'm Bethany, and I really enjoyed lighting my Hanukkah menorah with my daughter Sophia last night and watching the flames burn. So happy Hanukkah to anybody else who also lights a menorah at Hanukkah. Some of you know me associated with the nursery. Some of you know me associated with facilitating the young adult group. Some of you know me as that obnoxious, goofy one that always sits in the back of the church. But I'm up here right now representing CYRE. So Children in Youth Religious Exploration plans to embrace our 75th anniversary by remembering our CYRE past and looking towards our CYRE future. We plan to do this by bringing our past fundraisers and activities back to life. Those of you who are here prior to COVID-19 remember a CYRE program that included children from toddlers all the way to high schoolers. Our faith programming culminated in a heritage trip all the way up to Boston. Sadly, in 2019, After 2 years of fundraising, our last group of high schoolers never got to go on their heritage trip because everything shut down. Well, CYRE will be bringing back our fundraisers and activities to have money in place to send our middle schoolers on this valuable trip when their time comes. We'll also offer opportunities to our former students, I see some in here, whose UU experience got cut short by COVID. These fundraisers and activities weren't just for families with children. They were supported by many of you sitting right here in this room right now. They offered nurturing, multi-generational connections to those of us with no family or with family that lived far away. Take, for example, this scarf. It came from a Christmas pageant that Lisa Eason produced. Every member of the cast got one to wear during production, and then they got it to take home. I wonder how many of you have one in your closet and fondly pulls it out to stay warm or to remember. Another example of what we would like to bring back is displayed by this Hogwarts summer camp t-shirt. The popularity of that past activity is reflected in the eyes and sighs of everyone who attended as a youth or who has volunteered as an adult to be a professor of magical sciences. These memories provide a connection to our families and the hope that after our youth leave to make their way in this world, this type of magic will bring them back to a UU congregation. I will end by speaking about the fundraiser that we will reinstall in February. The annual chocolate auction solicits chocolate deliciousness of all types from our congregants. Besides the silent auction, there's a mass bake sale and the fantastically popular cakewalk. So, families, be thinking about the upcoming Saturday night chocolate lock-in, where you and your youth will spend the night here baking, playing games, and having fun, and in the morning going to church. And members who like to bake, be thinking about those favorite creations that you can donate. And the rest of you are encouraged to bring your wallets and your appetites. So look around right now. You might see some young people who could very well be here to celebrate the UUCC's centennial anniversary. So please join CYRE's 75th embrace of the next generation of UU members. Thank you.
Carolyn?
I'm Caroline Eastman. I was asked to pick a memorable experience here. That's hard. And to talk about it in 2 minutes or less, that makes it even harder. First, a bit of background. I was brought up in UU Columbia, but not this one. There's one in Missouri. And I came back to UU Columbia after living in Columbia, South Carolina for a while. And I picked a memorable experience. I had the opportunity with some of the rest of you to go on a partner church visit to our partner church in Europe, and had the opportunity to visit parts of Eastern Europe, to meet some of the members of that partner church, and to get to know some of the members of this congregation a whole lot better. It was truly memorable. Thank you.
Thank you. And as you know, Ron Edge wasn't able to be here, but speaking on his behalf is his son, Michael.
Hey, everyone. I know many of you know my dad, and people always come up to me and say, oh, your dad's so social, and he's just been such a big part of the UU, and we have so many great memories from him. And one thing is, there's a flip side to that story. When my dad came to South Carolina in the late 50s from Europe and Australia, this was a very different world. He would mention how, like, if you drove over the bridge into Charleston, there was a big sign saying, you know, the KKK welcomes you to Charleston, South Carolina. So as you might imagine, his finding friends here at, the people he resonated with was a little hard. And then he discovered the Unitarians, and he threw himself into it, and he brought a lot to the church. But the church really gave him a home where he could meet people and connect. And it was, it was just one of the most important things in his life. So growing up, my dad was, whenever he was talking about his life, the UUs were central, more than the university. And so when I was very young, my brother and I were coming to the UU church, and this is when it was a house on Beltline near Richland Mall. So for me, it was interesting because, I'd go to school the next day and people would ask me, and I go, well, we meet in this house, and, we were learning about, indigenous people, and, and it was just such a different experience of what all my other classmates had about their churches. And the story that my brother likes to tell is when he was, 10 years old, and Helen Rader, for those of you who remember her, was running the RE program, and she'd brought some snacks. So all the kids had these little chocolate-covered snacks that they thought were Rice Krispies or something. And after all of the kids had tried them out, she goes, well, those were crickets. And all the kids ran to the bathroom or washing their mouth. But she was, explaining in many parts of the world, that would be a wonderful snack and you'd be so grateful. And it was just the whole idea how, having a Unitarian education was so different than the dogma of most churches. And it was about expanding your minds, learning about other people, even if you didn't get to meet them in person. And my dad kind of, embodied this about how he was just always so welcoming. And, there was never an idea where he was like, oh, that's stupid. He was always like, oh, well, let's think about that. And so I really just want to thank the UU for giving my dad a home, because South Carolina would not have been the same for him without this. And again, just going back to who here actually went to the building on Beltline Boulevard? Regina was, yeah, so you, Karita, so we still had it. But it's weird to think, it was just this house. When I was older, I thought, what did the neighbors think? Because, but yeah, so, my dad's tenure in South Carolina was really interweaved with the Unitarians, and thank you.
Thank you, Michael. And Ron, we do miss you. Yes, we do. This time, we'd like to invite our newest members to the front of the church. Go ahead and say a few words of special moments. Andy and Kate Noel and family. You want to bring?
Old is new again. So, hi, we're Kate Noel Wells and Andy Wells. I won't bury the lead since this is about our special memories. I should say that Andy and I met in this very room, almost 15 years ago? So, yeah, my happiest memory is when the music school dropout to my right walked through those doors when I was already a member. I do want to speak just a little bit about how being part of a intergenerational community has meant so much to me over the years, too. I moved to South Carolina the first time in 2008, kind of in the way you only do in your 20s, where it sounds exciting to kind of throw a dart at a map and just get up and go. You wanted a change of scenery. And so I moved here having a job lined up, but not knowing another soul in the whole area. And I really think, fortunately, I had discovered Unitarian Universalism just a few months before, so I sought out a congregation immediately. And I really believe it is this congregation, the members past and present, who made this feel like a home, that gave me that sense of belonging. You said it well. South Carolina would not have felt like home without that. And so, like I said, that led to me meeting my husband. Back then, we were in our 20s, so we were very involved. We had more of the time and talent to give. I feel like we have almost no time or energy these days as parents of 2 school-age kids, but perhaps a little more of the treasure. And something we have been in in Cincinnati for the past 7 years for Andy's job. And somebody at the congregation there said to me, just really, really hit home, and I believe it about all congregations, so I'm going to repeat it. It was this older couple, and we were a small congregation, maybe even a little smaller than here. So this was still not a couple I knew well. We probably exchanged pleasantries and nodded and smiled. But a couple of weeks after we had announced we were going to be moving back to Columbia, South Carolina, they pulled me aside, and this 80-year-old man said, "I just want you to know how sad we are that we won't get to
watch your daughters grow up. And, I think what has held our marriage together all these years, is, in addition to our love for each other, the sense of values that we share and the values that I see reflected here and that we want to raise our daughters with. So we are so, so grateful to be part of this congregation, and we're happy to be back. Thank you.
I got to add one thing, though. She loves this story about how we actually met in the church. So before COVID, you would get up and greet each other, shake hands. And I remember I was sitting in the back with my friend, and she stood up, she turned around. Our eyes locked across the congregation. A single beam of light shone down. And it was at that moment that I thought, I hope she doesn't think I'm with this other guy.
And that's what UUCC is all about. If you would, please open your hymnal in the teal hymnal to hymn number 1064 as we hear a rendition of another very special hymn to all of us, Blue Boat Home.
Karen said, "Are you going to introduce this?" And I said, "Well, I guess I could." And so I'm going to introduce it. I'm going to reflect on a little bit on what Carita said, because actually anti-racism training is not only not dead at UUC, it's ongoing. We had 2 trainings last year with Paula Cole-Jones, at which a number of our congregants participated at no cost to themselves because of a grant that the good folks at SCUJA, the South Carolina UU Justice Alliance, had written to allow that to happen. And there may be another one this year. It's not settled yet, but we may be doing one called The Leading Edge. So that's going on. There's January the 20th. We'll expect to be marching out there with our banner, which is a great alternative to watching the inauguration on TV, which might not be good for your blood pressure, I'm not sure. And let's see. Oh gosh, there's so much more, but I should shut up now and play, shouldn't I? So let's do Blue Boat Home, which has that message of unity, right? Sailing here with my ship's companions, all us kindred pilgrim souls.
Standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean, still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is our blue boat home. Sun, my sail, and moon, my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the lights of the heavens in our beautiful blue boat home. to the waves upholding me. Hail the great winds urging me on. Reach the infinite sea before me. Sing the sky my sailor's song. I was born upon the fathoms. Never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat.
Thank you, Kevin, Andrew, Keith, and also appreciate Karen Peters, the pianist, as well as to JP, who performed earlier today. The closing words, go ahead and remain standing because I had 3 options and I will choose the shortest. The final closing words kind of capture as we move forward because, again, all of us came from somewhere. And our journeys led us to this home. Closing words come from Cardinal Benitez in the movie Conclave, who reminded us that the church is not about tradition. It is not about the past. The church is what we do next. This time, Reverend Robinson will extinguish the chalice, and as we extinguish this flame, committed to our good work in the coming year ahead, while encouraging others to join us on our ongoing journeys in search of the truth, the connections, the inspiration, and of course, always guided by that light. I'd like to go ahead and lead us, and Chuck, are you close? Chuck will go ahead and lead the ASL version of our closing benediction. Thank you. Our time together has come to a close, but before you leave, please extend a greeting to those around you. Who knows, in 15 years, you may be married to them. Want to invite you all to come back next week where we will have our annual Fire Communion. And again, truly kick off 75 celebration of 75 great years. Thank you for being with us today.